Guernsey is an island that's known for its idyllic beaches and being a tax haven, but not so much for its football. Or is it? I'm delighted to be joined by Matt Le Tissier, the finest sporting expert from Guernsey. Matt, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure, mate.
And we'll start off nice and easy then. What's it like being arguably, well, not so arguably in my case, the most famous sporting expert from the Channel Islands?
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of the fact that I, became the first ever Guernseyman to play for England at football. That's a pretty cool thing that nobody could ever take away from me. So yeah, I've always been very proud of my heritage as well. Always loved going back to Guernsey, and still do to this day. I've still got a lot of family out there, so yeah, it makes me very proud to be a Guernseyman.
Of course, and I say that you're the most famous sporting icon from the Channel Islands because 100 Premier League goals for Southampton, and obviously being nominated, shortlisted for the Premier League Hall of Fame. How much of an honour was that?
Yeah, I mean that's lovely. The Hall of Fame stuff is something that's obviously come about recently, but I was already into the National Football Museum Hall of Fame through the F8, so that was also something that happened quite a few years ago. Which, again, these accolades just something that you can look back on with a lot of pride because not everybody gets to that level.
And of course, many people will know you for having played for Southampton and England, but not many people will have known that you actually ended up playing for Guernsey FC, no matter how little time it was. How did that call-up actually happen?
Yeah, I mean, it was in the season where it was a pretty rough winter and they had a lot of games postponed, and it got to kind of April, and they had to play, I think it was something like 19 games in 31 days. It was just crazy fixture list, and obviously the players started to drop down like flies. They were getting injured, and so they were struggling for an away game and for numbers to fill the bench. And I was training for a half marathon at the time, so I'd kind of got down to a reasonable weight. I think I was 44 at the time, and my brother said to me, he said, "Would you sign on?" He said, "We might be struggling here." So I said, "Yeah, no problem." So I rocked up for one game and came on for about 10 or 12 minutes or something at the end of the game. We lost 3-1, I think, but I couldn't quite turn it around in that short amount of time.
What was it actually like playing at that level then? Obviously, for people that don't know, Guernsey FC is a team in step 8 of the English pyramid. So what was it like playing at that level?
Well, I'd had experience of that anyway because I played for Eastleigh when they were in the Juice and Wessex League, not at the levels that they're at now. So I'd kind of had a little bit of experience of that, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was all pretty good. Most of the players that were playing against were Southampton supporters. They weren't trying to kick me too much, and I enjoyed it. It was nice at 44 to be able to just set foot on a pitch in a competitive game again.
And what was people's reaction like to it then? Obviously, seeing such a great name come back to play for the Island.
They were all great. I didn't try and get kicked out of the game or anything, and everyone was very polite and friendly after the game, so it was all good.
Were you frustrated that you didn't score, maybe?
I was frustrated that I didn't get on a bit earlier. I was looking at the manager going, "Come on, I've got any chance? We're 3-1 down here, you give me a chance." So he only gave me about 10 minutes, so yeah, couldn't turn it around.
Speaking of the manager then, Tony Vance has been there from the start, 12 years at the helm.
Yeah.
How does he compare to some of the coaches that you've been coached by?
I mean, obviously it is a very different level, and I've known Vancey since we were kids as well. So I played youth football in Guernsey with him, and he's done a terrific job. The club in its early days incredibly successful. Very few defeats, and he's had to cope with going up the levels and seeing what challenges that they bring, and sometimes there's been some tough times where it's been tough to win football matches at the higher levels. But he seems to have dealt with it pretty well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see just how long he can stay out. It's a massive commitment as well. It's a fair play to him. He's got a job alongside that, and it's a huge commitment. So he's done very well.
Of course, and that being said, the club is rather hard to sustain. But how important is it for Guernsey FC to be a thing, for players like Glenn to actually play and be able to compete against English sides?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as you mentioned, my nephew has had a few appearances this season, and he's loved every minute. But it's been great for the people like Alex Scott, who has got a move to Bristol City out of it. And I'm sure there will be others in the future that'll tread that path as well. And he's doing fantastically well at Bristol City at the moment, being looked at by quite a few Premier League clubs, I hear. So that's an exciting time for him, and I think it's brilliant for the island's footballers that they're able to play at that level, and put themselves in a shop window to get spotted by clubs higher up the chain.
And of course, you mentioned Alex Scott then. Do you have contact with him? Have you spoken to him about his ventures in?
Not yet. No, not yet. No, I haven't. I haven't watched Bristol City, only on the television. So I haven't seen him play live for Bristol City yet. But I try and get and watch the GFC games when I'm back in Guernsey and there's a game on. I do try and get down there and watch. Not as often as I'd like, but obviously the last few years it's been a bit trickier with the travelling and everything. But no, I enjoy going down and watch Guernsey FC playing, yeah.
And back to Alex Scott then, how far do you actually think he can go? Obviously you said you haven't watched him, but do you think he can potentially surpass your legacy because you've got such a high milestone to reach?
Yeah, I mean, he has shown a hell of a lot of potential. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he went on to play for his country, which would be amazing. And if he went on to surpass the amount of caps that I got for England, I'd be absolutely delighted for him. You know, you want to see young players with a lot of talent succeed, and if he goes on to that level, that would be brilliant, and brilliant for Guernsey as well.
Of course, and it's not just male football though, it's female football. There's a namesake, not related, Matt Le Tissier coming through, playing for England, Man United, Brighton as well. How impressed have you been by her progression? Because obviously she played men's football until 16, I think. So.
She did indeed, yeah. I mean, it's been amazing, her journey through the game as well. Absolutely superb. Obviously, I knew her dad quite well. We played football against each other as kids, so it's been quite funny because a lot of people see the Le Tissier name and just automatically assume that it's a relative. But no, I just, you know, absolutely chuffed to bits for her. You know, anyone who plays their sport and gets, you know, to the top levels deserves a hell of a lot of praise.
Of course, and that's all that we've got time for today. But we will be back next week for another episode, so we shall see you then. Matt, thank you again for having
My pleasure, mate.
Giving us the time. See you later.